Glad you're with us on NFL Live. So many questions about what direction the Giants will go in the draft. Did they try to make things better for Daniel Jones, who of course they just paid? Did they take a chance and grab a quarterback in a stellar QB draft class and reset for the future? Well, they worked out Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy Sunday, which got us thinking about potential fits for a few teams that have needs at quarterback. So let's have some fun here, okay, with the draft. I'll give you a team. You tell me what quarterback would fit in their system best. You see that little puzzle piece there? Dan, we'll start in New York. If they go quarterback at number 6, who fits in the Dable-Kapka offense best?
Well, I'm okay with Drake May, all right? But you have to be completely committed to sitting in. Now, I have reservations in New York twofold. One, if Daniel Jones doesn't play well, which has been the case in parts of his career at times, or gets hurt again, does he get rushed on the field? Or, well, everyone knows that Brian Dable and Joe Shane probably have to win this year. The seat gets really warm. Do they struggle and then rush Drake May on the field? So as much as I love Drake May and Brian Dable together, I look forward to future rather than the present when it comes to that marriage.
That was like a partial fit. Let's go to Denver with Field here. Is there a guy best suited to run Sean Payton's offense?
Laura, let's keep in mind they have the 12th overall pick, not the second, and they have no second-round pick. So it's hard to move a lot further up the board than number 12. So how about Bo Nix? This kid might be the best processing quarterback in the entire draft class. He completed 77.45% of his passes last season, the best by any quarterback in a single season in FBS history. I'm not here to tell you that this is the second coming of Drew Brees, but there are traces of what Drew did at a very high level. Incredibly accurate, moves his eyes incredibly fast, gets through his reads at a very rapid pace, the kind of stuff that Sean Payton covets a lot in that quarterback position.
To Minnesota next. Mina, it would likely mean trading up, but if there is a quarterback that fits best in the Vikings offense, who is it?
I'm also giving them Drake May, but in this situation, I'm playing him. It's a much better situation. There's a few reasons for this. I think he's a great play-action quarterback, uses the middle of the field, and perhaps most importantly, he loves attacking and giving his receivers chances to win. Now, at UNC, those receivers let him down quite a bit. Will not be a problem with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson. This offense, to me, would be bombs away, and that's even without getting to the athleticism factor and how I think Kevin O'Connell would use it in his offense.
Yeah, it's a good point, too, that we're probably not giving Drake May enough credit. You were talking about that earlier, Field. Let's go to New England, though. Number 3 overall. Reminder, they did bring in Jacoby Brissett this offseason, so there's a veteran QB in place if they want to go that route. But, Dan, who makes the most sense fit-wise for the Patriots?
Yeah, okay, so if they're going to stay at 3, there's a couple quarterbacks that make a lot of sense. I'd say number 1, J.J. McCarthy, and number 2, Drake May. Here's my thing. Don't play him. Drake May, I just talked about. Sit, Drake May, you have to grow and develop. I've mentioned that with Jordan Love. New England is not capable of supporting a young quarterback play-wise. They're not good enough on their offensive roster. And so no matter who New England takes, whether it's 3 and they take one of those young studs or they drop back and still take somebody, I just believe that this roster needs to get rebuilt before they play that young player. Alex Van Pelt comes over, offensive coordinator. He's got shades of this Shanahan and Sean McVay and Gary Kubiak tree. So I do like that. I just don't believe that that's a place where you rush the quarterback play early on.
I would agree because the weapons around him are amongst the most, probably the worst in the NFL, or at least in the conversation. What I don't understand, I think the Patriots have perhaps the easiest decision in the entire NFL draft. There are 3 quarterbacks that I evaluate in a tier above the rest, in whatever order you want to put them. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. Take the third. Take whichever one of those 3 is available for you at pick 3. I believe
no question about it.
No question about it. Wouldn't think twice about it because I understand people saying, why not trade back, get a bunch of picks? Ultimately, Dan, you know this better than anybody. The quarterback is what makes the rest of the offense go, and you can't just keep bypassing getting a quarterback and hoping you'll eventually land on one. That's not how the NFL works. Specific to Drake May, I get it. Wasn't a perfect season this past year by any stretch. 2022 was way better than 2023. But I'm still thinking to myself, this is a 21-year-old, 6'4", 230 pounds, has an absolute missile attached to his right shoulder. This kid can manipulate safeties with his eyes about as well as any quarterback in this class. An awesome athlete as well. He led at North Carolina in rushing yards 2 seasons ago. He is a weapon with his legs, and all of a sudden I'm starting to feel like him. Maybe I'm a little bit too online for my own good. The bloom is off the rose a little bit. I'm a Drake May fan. I would take him at pick number 3 if I'm the New England Patriots and feel really good about that if he's available.
Come back to that.
Yeah, I'm high on him as well, Field. We've talked about it a lot. I really like his traits, the aggression, the the tools. I think with New England, though, if you were to end up there, I'm in agreement with Dan. And that's less to me about May than it is about the situation. And by the way, I think that offense, which has so many needs, if you do stick and take May at 3, you can still add really talented offensive linemen and receivers in the draft. And in Jacoby Brissett, you have one of the better backup quarterbacks in the NFL. So you have a chance to develop. We talk a lot about developing quarterbacks, but you also have a chance to develop those wide receivers, those offensive linemen, if you take a tackle this year. So you have a year where everybody can get better before the quarterback is thrust into that situation, in large part because you made, as much grief as I've given the Patriots for not adding skill players, I think signing Jacoby Brissett was one of the better signings of the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, that gives you comfort, Jacoby. The acting general manager in New England is who?
Elliott Wolf.
Where did he start his career?
Green Bay. Well,
what are
Green
they
Bay,
notorious for?
Yeah, that's right. Taking a quarterback and sitting him.
Right. So
yeah.
I'm okay with that. That's why, I don't disagree that I like Drake May. I love Drake May's talent.
Yeah.
He cannot play right away.
By the way, I would be surprised, and I know it's April 1st, we got 5 more months. I'd be floored if Jacoby Brissett was not the Patriots' Week 1 starting quarterback.
Yeah, I agree with that.
When they signed him, that was the intent.
Yeah, and that's why I like him. Yeah. I like Drake May in New England more than I like Drake May in Washington. Yep. Strictly because of who
the lack of pressure to play, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
They brought in Cliff Kingsbury to run the offense. Mina, they'll likely have their pick of any quarterback not named Caleb Williams. Who fits best there?
Well, I can see it with Jaden Daniels. Put him in the gun, spread things out, let it fly. They have good skill players. But here's the thing. I don't think the question is which quarterback fits with Cliff Kingsbury, who's their offensive coordinator. I think the question you need to be asking is, how is Cliff Kingsbury going to adapt his offense to suit a rookie quarterback? Because from what we saw in Arizona from 2019 through 2022, there were a lot of flaws. I'll just point to one thing. During that period, Dan, Cliff Kingsbury's offense ranked dead last in the NFL in use of motion. If you aren't using motion in today's NFL to give your quarterback information, to create, we talk about all the time, I know, to create leverage and spacing, I feel like you're lacking in assisting, and it's an oversimplification. There's a lot of factors in that, but I don't think the Washington Commanders should be drafting thinking about who best suits what we've seen from Cliff in the past.
Okay, totally agree on that point. If we're being honest, the quarterback that best suits what Cliff wants to do is Caleb Williams, just because of the point guard element, catch and throw, and also the ability to run. I do not think that the best, at least plug and play person is Jaden Daniels. Jaden comes from a place that they did use a ton of shifting. They did use a ton of motion into LSU. The other quarterback that I think makes a ton of sense, and it's probably not at 2, is the guy that you just talked about, Bo Nix. Bo Nix is really a point guard. That's really what he developed to become in Oregon. So I know that's not where they're going to get slotted, but to Mina's point, if it's about Cliff and Washington, those are the 2 best players that you want to take and just plug and play into that offense.
I realize it's easier said than done, but you've got to think they're saying, dude, let's put some more shifting, some more motion in this offense, no matter who they end up drafting at 2. Now, speaking of the Commanders, with a new head coach, they start voluntary workouts tomorrow. Adam Schefter caught up with Dan Quinn ahead of his first real time in the building with some of his players.
Dan, what does it mean to you to have your players in the building on Tuesday, getting the chance to work with them for the first time?
I'm so damn lit up, honestly, to get started with those guys and to build it, to be around them, and talked a lot on the phone and getting ready, but to start it all together, that's a big deal. And as you and everybody else knows, like, if you're good in the locker room first, you got a chance to be really good on the field. But like that chemistry, that connection, it has to go down. And so we're gonna use every bit of that extra time, man, to make that connection with one another. But I'm really excited, yeah.
What is the idea? What do you hope to get out of starting on Tuesday?
Yeah, I think number one, the connection, player to player, coach to player, player to coach, all of that. And that process, what does it look like together? What are the things that you honestly want to get better at this offseason? There'll be scheme, and that's important. But the most important thing first is building their connection together. Coaches to coaches, players to coaches, and all of that, how it mixes together. And having that process together before the other rookies get there, that's a big deal, because now there's some standards set. There can be some mentoring that will take place, but you just want to make sure you get that part right first.
Adam, back with us now. What did you take away, Adam, from your time with Quinn last week?
Well, number one, he's fired up to get started tomorrow. And it's really a historic day for him because this is the start of the implementation of his program. This is a team that's been incredibly active in free agency, remaking its roster. That's one way that they've tried to change things in Washington. And this will be the start of another, with him trying to impact and influence all the players on this roster. There's been a change in ownership. There's been a change in the front office. There's been a change in the coaching staff. And now, starting Tuesday, they begin to implement that with the players in that locker room. They're one of 3 teams that start their voluntary offseason programs tomorrow. The others are the Atlanta Falcons with Raheem Morris and the Los Angeles Chargers with Jim Harbaugh, all rookie coaches, all getting underway on Tuesday, and they're all fired up about doing each program in each respective city.